Now I'm going to get into the Liverpool versus Villa pre-game preview in a sec, but I just want to make one comment, if I could, before I get into the video. Now look, I'm not naive enough to think that having a YouTube channel doesn't open you up to the whoppers and the keyboard warriors out there. It goes with the territory and I'm thick-skinned enough to deal with it. But I do want to address something. Now, if you want to disagree with me, absolutely no problem. If you want to debate with me, not an issue. If you want some banter, brilliant, bring it on. I welcome it. Done the pub 1,000 times before. But if you want to abuse me, or attack me, or make abusive, derogatory comments about the team, the players, the manager, or me, that's not on. You can't be doing that, sorry. If you think a player or the manager isn't good enough, or they're not putting the effort in, or whatever, that's okay. That's an opinion, and you're welcome to it. I'll never have a problem with that here. But to personally attack them with abusive, foul language, and foul-mouthed, offensive personal attacks, that's not okay. And I have this little button that if I hit it, it blocks anyone who abuses this rule of common decency. So to anyone who thinks it's clever, it isn't. And you're only going to get one chance. So if you do it, if you use foul language and abusive language and abuse people, you're booted. I'm sorry, and I didn't think I'd ever have to get to this point, but I had to say it because there's a few creeping in. Now, thankfully, 99.9% of the comments here are decent and fair and balanced, even when we're all angry and disappointed. So I have to say this is a very small minority. So apologies to the 99.9% of you who have been brilliant and supportive, and for even having to put up with me saying this. But I felt it needed to be said so everyone knows where I stand on this kind of abuse, because it's just not right. Anyway, I'm done. So onto the video and onto the football. 6 defeats in 7. The worst run of any club in all of Europe's top 5 divisions. The latest, the 3-0 home defeat by Palace, was the first time since 1934 that Liverpool have lost a home cup tie by 3 goals without scoring one. 1934. And it has to be said, it's a manager who is now losing the support of a section of the fan base. And I don't say that lightly or without evidence. If you go back 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was the odd person here and there calling for the manager's head, saying he wasn't good enough. But it was a small minority of the fan base. It's not a small minority now. He still retains the faith of a decent segment of the support, but those numbers are dwindling by the week and by the performance. And many because of the performance and because of the results, but others because of the post-match rhetoric of excuses and deflection. Now let's just go back to the Palace game. Choosing a team designed to lose a game which would have seen us in a quarter-final had we won has been widely condemned, and it's a sentiment that, as you know, I agree with. And then I realised I was nervous before this game, but not about the results and about how we might play, but about what the starting 11 would be. Now, it's been a long time for me, if ever, where I had trepidation about who the starting 11 would be. And to that point, honestly, I have absolutely no idea who the starting 11 is going to be against Aston Villa. I'm going to guess now. I'm guessing Gakpo, Ekitike, Salah up top, seeing as all 3 were rested in midweek. Will it be Wirtz, Jones and Szoboszlai again? A trio that hasn't really shown any kind of chemistry, hasn't really shown defensive resilience, and hasn't really shown creative attacking intent either. And that's all even though Dominic Szoboszlai has been our player of the season so far. In defence, I have a better idea, because Virgil and Konate will start, because the only other one we've got is Joe Gomez, and he just played in our reserve team. And Conor Bradley is the only one on the right with Frimpong injured. But who's going to play left back? Kerkez or Robertson? I don't know. I just haven't got a clue who's going to pick. For me, it should be Robbo all day because, unfortunately, Kerkez again didn't cover himself in glory against Palace, and also just because Robbo has the guile, the wherewithal, the experience, and that chemistry with Virgil, which I think will help us. Mamardashvili will be in goal because, again, he was rested, but he's another one who needs to convince, he needs to put a performance in. And that just doesn't mean shot stopping, that means the whole package. That means using his feet, playing out from the back, his kicking, etc. And a clean sheet wouldn't go amiss either, would it? Now, as for Aston Villa, well, whereas we've lost 6 of our last 7, well, guess what? They've won 6 of their last 7, and they've lost 1 of their last 10 in all competitions. In their last 7, they've beaten Bologna, Fulham, Feyenoord, Burnley, Tottenham and Man City. Their only defeat was to the go-ahead Eagles. Never even heard of them. And after beating Man City in their last Premier League game, they're going to be very confident of a result against a stuttering and out of sorts Liverpool team. They're going to come on the front foot. They're going to come with confidence. And for us, and I know it goes without saying, but we simply have to win this one. A draw isn't enough, and another defeat doesn't bear thinking about. We cannot carry one single passenger in this game. We can't play the slow-paced, lethargic game we've been guilty of so many times this season. Remember pass and move? Well, this has been more like pass and walk, and it really has. There's been no dynamism to our play, and it's all too slow, too ponderous, and teams can just get back into position, into their couple of banks of 4, and nullify our approach play with ease. It hasn't worked all season, and it won't work against Aston Villa. So we cannot afford to see a repeat of it. High intensity, fast-paced attacks with incisive, quick passing and movement is the only way to approach this game. Going at them, taking the game to them, having the belief that you individually will impose your game on your opponents and not allow them to oppose theirs on you. Now, I'm going to go a little bit left field here, so bear with me. I've been thinking long and hard about this, and I've been thinking about the number of times I've seen in the comments the definition of insanity, and, you know, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I'm going to throw this out at you, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it. So what I'm doing, I'm actually piggybacking on a few people in the group who've already suggested this, but they've said, with this squad, go with a 4-4-2. So I'm piggybacking on it. So see what you think about this lineup, assuming all these players are fit. But it can even work with some changes as well to the 11 I'm going to show right now, up here. Now, you'll see there's no Salah here. Why? Because we have to prepare for life without him while he's at AFCON, and also because he's not in the best of form. There's no Gakpo or Chiesa either, but you look at this setup. Gakpo or Chiesa or Salah could take one of those 2 spots up front, potentially both of those spots up front. So I'm not ruling them out. As I say, this is a concept. Just want to get your thoughts on it. The midfield, though, is the diamond that I would play. It would have Gravenberch reassigned to his primary role of destroyer, but also the destroyer who brings that ball out into the midfield and through the lines. It would have McAllister and Szoboszlai as the 2 midfield generals with their pace and their intensity and their legs in the middle. And it would give Wirtz the forward position where he could link up with McAllister and Szoboszlai. And he's also got 2 class forwards ahead of him, and he can operate in that hull. And I promise you, I'm not doing this on price tags. I'm doing this on skill sets. And the fact that these players that we did pay big money for have got amazing skills that we haven't utilised yet, but which we need to. Now, I stress, this is only an option. It's just me trying to think outside the box from where we've been. 4-3-3 is still the most likely formation. And yes, we do have the players to play that as well. You could make a case for Salah with Isak and Ekitike, or Chiesa, Ekitike, Gakpo. There's a whole variation of threes that could be used up front as well. But I personally would not be opposed to a change of formation in this game. Our only recent impressive performance was the Frankfurt performance when we did use a change of formation, so why not again? It would see us break the mould, it would see us do something quite different, but which has recently worked, and it might well surprise Villa at the same time. But all that aside, whoever he picks, in whatever formation, we have to support this team more than ever right now. All of us, we've got to get behind them. Now, I've actually seen some comments in the last day and a half, very, very few, mind you, but some would like to see us lose so that Slot gets sacked. Now, come on. If he proves incapable of turning it around, moving him on will eventually become a reality anyway, but we can't be wishing for a defeat to accelerate it. We just can't. Well, I certainly can't anyway, and I would guess that the majority of you don't want that either. But a much needed win is a must. It will be just the tonic we need before Real Madrid roll into town 3 days later, and then we face Man City next weekend. Man City, by the way, who for all of our problems are exactly 1 point ahead of us in the table. So we've all been saying for weeks now that the next win is a must win. But first of all, that was to keep us at the top of the table. Then it was a must win to make sure that we didn't fall too far off first place. Then it was a must win to keep us in the top 4, and we're currently outside the top 4. So this one is to keep us in touch with the top 4 and not see us drop further down the table, approaching mid-table. That's how huge it is, and that's why this has to be 3 points. And for Arne Slot, it's probably also to keep the Wolves away from the door, and potentially even worse than that, even though he's just been given a vote of confidence by Liverpool. So let's see the real Liverpool finally stand up and be counted on Saturday, under the Anfield lights, with the crowd roaring them on as usual. Let's put on a performance that everybody, the players, the manager, and every single one of us fans can be proud of. Come on, lads, you can do it. Let's turn this around, and let's turn it around starting Saturday. See you after the game. You'll never walk alone. Cheers. Ta-ra.